My name is Moon Petri, and I am doing the Plotting versus Pantsing tag. It was started by Kat Sperling Books in a fantastic video, which she made with several other author tubers. It was a great community effort. The tag is so much fun. Go watch that video. It will be linked below. But for now, Plotting versus Pantsing. Quick note, yes, I am still outside. Yes, I am still wearing the same shirt. I'm doing my version of badge filming, which is just 2 in one day, because that is all I've ever managed. I could have faked it and changed my shirt, but if I was too lazy to put on mascara, I was too lazy to change my clothes, for sure. I'm squeezing it in between neighbors mowing their lawns. Obviously, mowing the lawn is not high on our agenda. We prefer dandelions to yard work. I've got little ones sleeping upstairs, my husband and teenager, just a Robin. My husband and teenager with their D&D group downstairs, so I just slipped outside. Do a quick intro of yourself. Channel name, what you write, are you a plotter, pantser, or both? My channel name is my name, Moon Petri, and I write YA fantasy, specifically Portal fantasy. And despite recent efforts, I'm pretty firmly in camp pants. How did you know you're a plotter or a pantser? Would you say that your writing style is connected to your personality, e.g., are you a very organized person? Do you plan out events in your life, etc.? So I'm pretty good at planning events. I'm punctual, but all of my stuff is kind of a disaster. My house is usually a mess, and I just realized watching a great video by Jennifer Akers, link below, that the way I organize all of my files of all of my writing is a total disaster. So, maybe I was just destined to be a pantser because I can't keep anything organized. But I would say that I knew when I pantsed my first book. I didn't really mean to start writing it. I had been doing brainstorming, world building, scribbling down notes for about a day. And then I realized I was starting to write a scene, and it turned into a whole book. So I had outlined things before, but they were shorter and always felt kind of stilted. I loved the process. I loved discovery. I think that the term discovery writer is a great one. And it worked. It happened. A book came out. So I guess that's how I knew. In your opinion, what is the biggest pro of your writing style? And I would say the excitement along the way. I will have my character on one side of the door and not know who's going to open it until I write it down. And it truly feels like meeting people, which is just so delightful. I get surprised. I love to be surprised by what I find along the way. In your opinion, what is the biggest con of your writing style? So probably for a lot of people, it will be exactly what I just said is the biggest pro. People who don't like to be surprised or really like to know what's coming ahead would not enjoy that at all. For me, maybe the biggest con is that I do sometimes have to stop along the way. People also say headlights writer, so I have to stop and take a look and see what's in the headlights at this point. And that can break my flow a little with drafting, but it's not that bad. The other thing is a lot of people say pantsing leads to heavier revisions, so That's a con for a lot of people. I love revision, and having never revised anything that I wrote with a serious outline, I wouldn't have the facts on that topic. Do you run into plot holes? So I'm sure everyone runs into plot holes to some degree at some point. I have run into places where things weren't well developed enough, and that felt more like especially with characters, felt kind of like a character hole. I haven't written myself into a corner or anything. I could see that potentially happening. I try to be pretty careful with keeping a running timeline as I go. So I guess I outline what I've already done and keep track of when it happened, because I think this is a really easy way to get a plot hole, is to make the timeline contradictory. So with pantsing, I would just say keep that running timeline as you write. Do you run into writer's block? So I don't call it writer's block. I feel like giving it a special name sets it apart from the practical realm of small fixable things, and I really believe that the vast majority of the time, at least what I've run into, is not some grand overarching block, even though it may sometimes feel like that. It generally happens for a specific reason, and if you sit back and assess what that reason is, whether it's that you're not attached enough to your main character, that you don't know what's going to happen next, that you're having a crisis in confidence, that you're tired and overwhelmed, that you need to take care of your mental health, any of these reasons can give you something to work with, a jumping off point, a goal. And just like any big thing, it's more approachable when you break it down into its smaller components. So I don't have what I would call writer's block. I do sometimes have I don't know what I'm doing next block. But I don't let it stop me. I am kind of like a dog with a bone. I don't like to set things aside. Even the, mandatory rest periods in between drafts are really hard for me. So no, writer's block has not been a problem. Do you start books and then abandon them? How often does that happen? I have never started drafting and then abandoned the book. I have certainly abandoned ideas. I have started brainstorming, character development, world building, and then abandoned it. And I have written complete lovely outlines that could maybe even work, and then completely abandoned them. But once I start drafting, I just keep going. Now this question is a little tricky. It is, are your stories character or plot driven? And I am going with C, none of the above. My stories start with a sense of place. Writing portal fiction, the setting is often the concept and has a lot to do with the inciting incident. It's always where I begin, and I feel like it's why I keep writing. The plot is important. The characters are important. Finding a balance between the two so you don't feel like your character is in the passenger seat, nor do you feel like your character has total control and the world isn't throwing any curveballs. That's all really important. But for me, I start and I finish because of the setting. What's your number one recommendation for someone with your writing style? So I have already mentioned keep a running timeline, but the main thing I have heard people say is that they get lost or don't know what's coming next and get writer's block, get frustrated, give up, move on to a different project. So I would say give yourself time to figure those things out. But give yourself a specific amount of time and be actively trying to figure those things out. Get out your post-it notes or your index cards. Jot things down, move them around. Ask yourself a lot of what-if questions. whatever you need to do to get some spark going. But tell yourself, I have until Tuesday. On Tuesday, I'm going to start drafting again, or whatever timeline works for you. But make sure that you still feel like you are actively engaged in the drafting process. Is there anything that you're jealous of when it comes to the other writing style? I hope you can't hear my neighbor's weed whacker. So I don't think so. I tried outlining on my Camp Nano book, which is turning out to be really, really long, and probably a third of it just needs to be deleted. I'm 60, maybe 70% through the draft, and I have gotten to the point where the bullet points I managed to do are getting more and more vague. I used Kat's method from Katie Tastic, the 3-act, 9-block, 27-chapter method, and I have at least a vague bullet point all the way up through 19 out of 27. 20 is just a series of things with question marks, conflicting ideas. I can't do all of them. I just was kind of brainstorming at that point. And for the rest, I have nothing. So when I was working on that outline, before Camp Nano started, yeah, I felt like I wish I could do this better. It would give me more confidence that I could write more quickly. But at this point, I've discovered so much going along that I never would have known how to resolve all of the pieces because I didn't have all of the pieces yet. So anything I had written down for the final act, it would have been unusable at this point. So I guess I'm just loving the discovery, and I can't really be jealous. It's working for me and I'm having fun with it. Can you imagine ever changing your writing style? So clearly I did try. I wouldn't rule out trying again ever. I'd say I'd be more likely to do another attempt at outlining if I was writing a mystery or a thriller, or maybe something shorter, or maybe something less setting driven. You know, a 60,000 word contemporary or something. I'd take a stab at it, why not? But I wouldn't get upset with myself if it just was not happening. So thank you, Kat Sperling, and your collaborators for starting this awesome tag. It's a topic I love. The link to that original video will be below, and also the link to Jennifer Akers' awesome video on how to organize your files while you're drafting and revising. That is going to cause me to go and spend an hour messing around with all of my Word documents and my Google Drive right now, but is then going to make it so much easier for me to find what I need when I need it. Until next time, I am Moon Petrie, and good luck with your pantsing, or your plotting, or whatever you do.